Which Aussie telcos are the worst when it comes to customer service?
And are the new crop of unlimited plans really worth getting excited about?
Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, is proudly brought to you by Belkin.
Welcome to Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, where we talk to Australia's leading technology journalists to get the stories behind the news of the week. I'm Alex Kidman, and I'm yet to announce Australia's most awkward media merger with Adam Turner, but still, we're here to channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture.
I won 51%.
This week, we're joined by longtime friend of the show, picker.com.au's Lee Stark. Lee, welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Always great to be here.
This week, we're looking at the latest customer service satisfaction report for telcos, as well as the detail behind Telstra and Vodafone's new unlimited deals. But first, over to the news desk. Adam, what's happening in tech news?
The consumer watchdog has slapped NBN retailer MyRepublic with 2 fines totaling $25,000 for alleged false or misleading representations about its NBN service performance. MyRepublic was pulled up by the ACCC for advertising plans as up to 50 or up to 100 megabits per second after the consumer watchdog had called on providers to instead quote real-world expected speeds in their advertising materials.
In an effort to boost the number of people using two-factor authentication, Google is reportedly set to start selling the two-factor authentication physical keys it's been using internally for the past couple of years. Available in USB and Bluetooth variants, they'll first go on sale to Google Cloud customers, with Google Store availability set to follow.
NBN has once again updated its customer migration rules, with the service continuity standards now covering NBN connections which still rely on copper phone lines such as fibre to the node, curb and basement. Under the new rules, retailers must test each individual connection to ensure that they're not charging customers for unobtainable speeds. That said, the retailers are not obliged to repair slow copper connections, with the NBN only committing to fixing services which can't hit 25 megabits per second.
Apple announced new MacBook Pro models a few weeks ago to bring its line of premium laptops into the red-hot premium space. Problem was they were literally red-hot, with the top-end models throttling performance because they were simply overheating. Apple's now released a bug fix for macOS High Sierra that counters the problem, so your shiny new MacBook Pro should start responding and stop cooking your legs like a pizza any time now. So Adam, the NBN has long been a kind of mire of rules and regulations, most of which were imperceptible to the average consumer, but the new migration rules are actually going to affect an awful lot of consumers, aren't they?
Yeah, the migration, they've got a few new sets of rules, but the ones that I think are particularly important are the migration rules. And as we said in the news, they're called the service continuity standards. So they're kind of to try and make sure that there isn't this big gap in the middle between when they take you off your old service and when they put you on your new service. About a month ago, they put out new rules that only covered fibre to the premises and HFC cable. But now we've got the flip side of those rules that covers everyone who's still reliant on copper for the last sort of line to your home. But I mean, like, the research has found that 1 in 6 houses are still waiting at least a week. So they're left with at least a week without services. And for 1 in 10 households, it blows out to 2 weeks. So there's work to be done here.
From what I understand, the new migration stuff also gives the telcos an out if you want to use your own modem?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because they have to test your line. They have to test your line to make sure that it can deliver the speeds. And then if it can't deliver 100 megabits per second, they won't fix it. They'll just make sure they don't sell you a 100 megabit per second plan. But there's this nice little disclaimer in the rules that says, if you don't use a modem provided by us, we can't guarantee you that this will work. And if it doesn't, suck it. It's up to you to tell us if there's something wrong with your service. So they haven't said they will refuse to do the test if you don't have their modem, but they have said that they can't promise it will work. It will sort of remains to be seen how much of a problem that is. Lee, what's the NBN situation like in your area? And are you likely to hand over money to your telco for a modem?
At this point in time, I think it's more
own?
likely that we're going to be launched into space for satellite service than my part of town actually getting the NBN, to be honest. I don't... Look, I'm unsure how it's even going to play out where we are, because we were told we were going to get HFC, and obviously we're probably not going to get HFC now. I'm curious about a lot of things you're saying, simply because these rules come from NBN Co, you say?
Actually, no, they don't come from NBN Co. The good thing is they come from the government regulator. They come from the Australian Communications and Media Authority. And part of the thing now is that the ACMA actually has the power to kick some ass if these rules aren't followed. And that's what the big problem has been up until now, is everyone going, oh, it's not my problem.
The question I have is why isn't the NBN, or why isn't I guess the installer testing all of this stuff when it rolls out in the first place? There's no reason why anyone should be left without a working connection the moment they're told they can go to NBN. That's absolutely crazy.
Sounds like, from what I'm hearing, it's because a lot of them are contractors who just want to get in, get it done, and get the hell out. And it's obviously not built into their metrics that it's something they have to do. So yeah, you hear lots of horror stories of people saying, yeah, you've got the NBN, and walking away, and then the customer goes to use it.
I have to wonder if companies like Vodafone are going to be the ones that win on this one. Was it with the Vodafone logic, it was that you sign up for them and you get the limited 4G connection, the 12 megabit, I guess, 4G connection is sort of like the maximum, or 5 megabit or something like that, before, if it doesn't actually work. What do you guys think about that? Is there a possibility that telcos that support something like that might win in this sort of circumstance?
We've certainly talked around those kind of ideas on the podcast before. And of course, Vodafone there is in an interesting position because they make that 4G fallback modem a default. You have to have it if you sign up for Vodafone NBN. So they'd also be within the rules of saying, oh, well, you've got our supplied modem. So actually, you're technically not meant to use your own modem on Vodafone NBN at all. The issue there, though, and Vodafone's pretty clear on this, and Telstra does a similar thing, and they're clear on it as well. Their intent is not that you're going to become a 4G customer of theirs. The 4G is there to fill the gap while things are fixed up or initially set up, because they figure their network's good enough for it. They're not really looking for... It's a point of differentiation, to be sure, but they're still looking to sell services on the NBN.
It also lets them get around their obligation to put you back on your old service if your NBN connection fails.
True
because
that.
This was the first part of the standard that came out a month ago that applies to pretty much everybody now, is if they move you from your old service to the NBN and it doesn't work and they can't fix it in 3 days, they have to put you back on the old service, which they all flat out were refusing to do. None of them want to do it because there's nothing in it for them. The only person who benefits is the customer, and screw the customer. But the rules say that you don't have to do that if you can give them a wireless broadband service to fill the gap. So they can hand out these modems knowing that whatever happens, they don't have to stuff around with putting you back on an old service anymore. You can stay on mobile broadband as long as it takes for them to fix the problem.
Also, Adam, and following on from a recent episode where we talked about the way Facebook treats and often mistreats page owners, you've been writing about that again this week. So, I mean, what's the story?
Yeah, so this was another interesting one where Facebook just seems to make up the rules as it goes along. This was
Kelsey,
a page...
please!
Yeah, I know, who would have thought it? This was a page called Mummy Needs Vodka, which is very similar to that other page, Effort, Let's Have a Beer. Right? It's one of those funny memes pages, and whether or not you think they are high-quality pages is not really the point here. The point is that Facebook doesn't apply its rules consistently. So this page was given a permanent, or the owner of this page was given a permanent link ban. So they can still post things on their page, but if they put up a post that has a link to anything outside Facebook, that post doesn't get shared on their newsfeed, so it doesn't reach all their followers, which is a problem for the woman who runs this because she's also an author. She's looking to spin a book off the page, and now she can't reach all of the people if she puts a link in the post. Now, Facebook wouldn't even tell her why they'd done this. For weeks, she had to argue with them. They wouldn't tell her anything. She came to me. Facebook would tell me, but still won't tell her. They did it because she got caught up with a mob called Provider, who were doing this dodgy viral marketing sharing links thing that's against Facebook's rules. The problem is Provider was telling its customers that they were following Facebook's rules, and some of those customers were really big, high-profile pages from celebrities. Now that this has gone down, this woman's got a permanent link ban. Other pages have got a 30-day ban, but all these high-profile pages, your Little Waynes and whatever, nothing, let off scot-free. So her argument is, why are these double standards? Why am I being punished when this other lot, who did it worse than I did, get no ban at all? The rules don't apply. If you're not a celebrity, then Facebook applies
That's the
different
same
rules to you. That's
across a
basically
lot of
what it seems
social
to come
networks.
down
I
to.
mean, Twitter's logic of banning the right sort of person as opposed to the wrong one. How many times has Trump gone and violated the rules and not actually been punished for it? Facebook
Perfect
the other day,
example.
someone's page or someone got banned for saying something that might have been construed as racist. Meanwhile, Alex Jones can go on there, shout out to his people literally racist things, and nothing happens. There's a double standard across most social media platforms that says if you're a celebrity and you have something to say, somehow you are allowed to violate those rules compared to everyone else.
To quote from the Muppets, a celebrity is not a people. I don't think it's entirely fair, but I kind of get Facebook's logic here in going silent because there's such this kind of obvious double standard. I don't think they ever want to be on the record as saying, "Oh yeah, we got that one wrong."
They didn't want to be on the record at all for this story. They helped me look into it, but at the end of the day, they would not give me one word of quotes for the story. They just didn't want to talk about it, and they don't even really want to officially acknowledge that their policy is if you break these kind of rules, we won't even tell you what you've done wrong because we don't want you to game the system by knowing that you've broken the rules.
But how are you supposed to actually
on the
amend
record
what you've done if you don't know what you've done? It's crazy. It's like parenting blindfolded. Which I haven't done yet. Emma is fine. We haven't done that yet.
Oh, you got to try it.
See, the solution in this case seems quite obvious and indicated. Facebook and indeed Lee needs vodka. So, Adam, Australians love their telecommunications providers a whole lot, and they never, ever. No, wait.
They get loved by.
They get loved. They get loved hard by the telecommunications provider. And the Australian Communications Consumer Action Network has a new report out where it's actually analysed a lot of the TIO figures, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it looked at the TIO got a record 158,000 complaints at last year, and about half of them were customer service. So the ACAN used that as a starting point, but they went out and did their own research and their own surveys to put together this report called Can You Hear Me? About the disappointing customer service that Australians are getting from their telcos. So the short version is they looked at 10 different providers, and Virgin Mobile came out on top, which is a bit of a shame because you can't actually sign up for Virgin Mobile anymore as far as I know. I think was it Optus they got rolled into?
Yeah. Virgin Mobile's basically screwed.
Yeah, so now that you can't roll up for them, you're which is a bit ironic, your next best bets according to this survey is Vodafone had the best service, followed by TPG/iiNet, Amasim, Dodo/iPrimus, SkyMesh, Telstra, Optus. Sorry, Activate Me. It's these new dentures. And in last place, Telstra owned Belong. So there you go. The only way you can get worse service than from Telstra is with someone who's owned by Telstra. That's the cheap version. But I mean, I'm not surprised that that Optus is down near the bottom too, because I heard so many Optus customer service horror stories when I was writing about the NBN last year. Lee, how does that match up with what you hear when you're writing about this stuff? Are people unhappy with their telcos?
I haven't met many people who are happy with their telcos. Everyone's had this discussion before. We go, who are you with? And I'm with Telstra, and they're okay. They're overpriced, but they're okay. But yeah, you hear a lot of people who pretty much are ready to complain. But 158,000, wow! I didn't expect it. That's just amazing. Are most of them my dad?
And my dad too, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's ridiculous. 100, and so that's a record number of complaints, but half of them were about customer service.
See, it makes me wonder about the NBN rules we were just talking about. If they're meant to, fix things in 3 days, but this report, as I understand it, said 3 weeks to remedy. Isn't there a bit of a mismatch there? How are they going to cram it back down into 3 days?
Well, they actually said the fastest way to get your stuff sorted out is to walk into a shop. Like, anybody's got time for that. Because it's not the fastest time, because you've got to find the time to get to the shop and queue up with everybody else at lunchtime and whatever. But
you've also got to find these mythical TPG, Amasim, Activate Me, and Belong shops somewhere.
Yeah. So they reckon that's an average of 8 days, but if you're on social media, it's 15 days. Using online chat, it's 20 days. Over the phone is 23 days, and email is 30 days.
Wow.
So there's no magic bullet apparently to get this solved.
And that's the average, so presumably half of them are worse than that.
Yeah. If you're lucky. If you're lucky, that's what you get.
But what are the majority of the complaints? Like, I get that some of them are on social media and whatnot, but what are the complaints, actually? I mean, I've definitely had some online chat and some social media things. I'm just kind of curious, what takes 30 days? What takes 15 and a half days on average, roughly? What takes 2 to 4 weeks to actually get picked up and fixed?
Getting a billing mistake fixed, getting a plan change put through correctly.
Oh my god!
Getting them to fix a connection or something, a service that you've signed up for and they're not charging you for it properly. I mean, I'm just listing the problems that my dad had with Optus, right? That's before we even go into anybody else. There's so many people I know have had problems with Optus, but yeah, it's all those kind of things. Just things that they screw up, or dealing with 3 customer service people who tell you 3 different things.
I'm curious about the ones that last a really long time. Like, I do know where my dad lives. He lives in what he described when I used to live with him as a Faraday cage, and neither Optus nor Telstra, no one could penetrate where he lived. And that might just be him, but several years on, like I haven't lived there for almost a decade, it's still going. So if you count that one in this, it really does blow out that long time it takes to actually get things done.
I've met your dad, Lee, as has Adam, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And possibly keeping him in a Faraday cage is for public safety.
That sounds fair.
More than anything
I
else.
don't disagree. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't disagree with that.
And, I mean, I can see that there are some aspects where this stuff can get complex. A number of years ago, in fact, I had a family member spend about 3 very frustrating weeks dealing with mobile number portability, where the old telco and the new one just bickered between themselves over where it was. At one point, they tried to just sell her on the idea of, oh, no, look, that number's gone. You'll have to have a new one, which is totally against the rules. And luckily, I was to shout at people. But that took about 3 weeks to resolve. And it doesn't entirely surprise me that these things are, staying bad and probably not getting better. I mean, if you look at Telstra, they could perhaps have the defence of, look, we've got lots more customers than anyone else, and they do. So their numbers are likely to be higher. At the same time, the whole initiative they announced last month, the Telstra 2022 thing, has them planning to, shelve lots and lots of staff. And you've got to think, wow, and in fact, shift a lot of people to these online remedy systems, which seem to be the slowest way to deal with things. That doesn't feel like a recipe for success to me. That's got me worried.
I'm on Exetel, which is not a great thing for my broadband at home. But the solution for tech support on Exetel is pretty much either complain on Twitter, hope someone notices; complain on Whirlpool, hope someone notices; report it on their forums where no one will notice, or just give up. And I think that's the worry, where when you go to a completely online sort of system, and your way of actually reporting these things pretty much goes to irrelevancy, you're stuck in this situation where that's all you can do.
In some ways, though, getting your problem dealt with by a bot could work in your favour. And I think I've told this story before, but I got caught up in that number porting thing when I was moving house, so about 10 years ago. And I was porting the number, I think, from Optus back to Telstra so I could then take that number with me to the new house. And somehow they screwed it up to the point where my phone number, if you were an Optus customer and you rang me, one wall socket rang. If you were a Telstra customer and you rang me, the other wall socket rang. And I argued with them for days because each of them said it was the other person's fault and there was nothing they could do about it. Eventually, I get put through to an Optus call center in India. I think, all right, don't be judgy. Doesn't matter where they are if they can fix the problem. I explained to the guy what the problem was. He says, yeah, no, sorry, no worries, sir. Fixed it in 5 minutes. Press the button. The reason why he could fix it is because all he was interested in doing is fixing the problem, whereas everybody else from Optus that I spoke to in Australia, all they wanted to do was blame Telstra. And then it got broken again. And when I rang back Optus and got Australia to try and fix it, they said it can't be done. And I said, bullshit, you fixed it half an hour ago. An Indian guy fixed it because it's not his job to blame Telstra like it's your job. So you might actually find that you do get removed a little bit of that from that blame game when a machine is making a decision and doesn't care about blaming the opposition.
Open the telephone port, Hal.
So, Alex, unlimited mobile plans are back in the news again. And when we say unlimited, should I be doing air quotes or do we really mean unlimited?
Well, that depends. Both Telstra...
So yes.
Yes, mostly. Yes, mostly. Sort of ish. Both Telstra and Vodafone have announced some unlimited data packages or deals this week. And you might think that bringing unlimited in would make stuff really easy to kind of compare, because you just go, right, we've already got unlimited calls, we've already got unlimited text, now we've got unlimited data, everyone just competes on price. But no. Well, at least not yet. Telstra was kind of first cab off the rank, and they have what they're now calling peace of mind data. And it's much the same unlimited deal they had before for those plans, where basically you get a data quota, that's the best speed you can get depending on where you are, depending on your device. And as soon as you run out of that, you're then limited to just a 1.5 meg connection, which, as we've discussed on the podcast before, means standard def Netflix only, and it's an up to speed, so in some circumstances it might be really quite painful to use. But they make it even more complicated because they now are offering it on SIM-only 12-month contracts as well as bundled with phones. But for the SIM-only 12-month contracts, there's 3 plans. The first one can't get the peace of mind data at all. The other 2, starting at $69 a month, can, and it's included. If you want a phone, though, Telstra wants $129 before they'll include it. And otherwise, they want an additional $10 per month for this peace of mind add-on. Lee, do you feel that that's, good value, that it's worth it?
No, absolutely not. But also because
Comments from the super coach.
But also because it's something I've ever since these bullshit ideas of what constitutes unlimited data came in, I've been arguing that they shouldn't be set to 1.5 because that's bloody ADSL1 quality and that's the maximum. Set it to something logical like 5 or 10, something where, it does feel like you're getting broadband from the current era as opposed to 10 or 12 years ago. So I'm really not a huge fan of calling it peace of mind. It's I guess less bullshit than calling it unlimited-ish, maybe? I don't know, but
isn't the whole idea of 1.5 meg to put you in the sin bin, though, to make you feel like you're being punished so you'll try harder next time not to? If they gave you a higher speed, then you wouldn't care.
That's not really peace of mind then, though.
Well,
that's not peace of mind at all, I agree with you. But that's the way they're looking at it.
I get the logistics, though, in that it's for customers who want to say, right, I just want to give you a sum of money and I never want to think about having to give you more money than that. And they are at least, they're twisting it around as well, because you do have this option. Once a month, you can switch back over to just $10 per excess gig. And those excess gigs are full speed. So you could actually have this plan and burn through your data 1 month, with a couple of days to go, and realize, right, no, I really don't want 1.5. Okay, have $10, and here's another gig to burn through, which obviously, in Netflix terms might not last you that long, but it might be enough for some people. The other thing, though, they did add was their first truly unlimited, and here the air quotes have to be smaller, or maybe it's one of those little legal asterisks, perhaps, unlimited plan. It's their ultimate plan. And for $199 per month, and admittedly, that does include pretty much any phone you want, but for $199 per month, you can have what Telstra is calling unlimited data. No 1.5 mucking around, just give us nearly $200 a month, and it's yours. Subject to a fair use policy.
Yes, walk away, no more to pay.
It's unlimited
That's
data
insane.
in the country. If you go out the country, it's 10 gig for that month, in theory, right?
Yeah, but look, roaming is a very different story. Nowhere on the planet that offers what's called unlimited plans, and these are still, to be fair, better than the unlimited plans you might get in the US, for example. Nowhere in the world says, and you can have unlimited elsewhere. Vodafone is the same. Vodafone has unlimited plans, which it's had for a while. We'll talk about their new Vodafone Pass stuff in a minute, but Vodafone has unlimited plans, and it's obviously got red roaming, but their whole red roaming deal is, no, you can only access your 30 gig. That's all you've got if you're overseas. So that's not so different. I don't see that as a big downside for that plan beyond the sticker shock of that price and this spectre of a fair use policy where basically, and there's been some mixed messages around this. I know some people who've tried to sign up for this in store and been told that you can't do things like mobile hotspot or tethering to other devices, but the official word from Telstra corporate, from the people I've spoken to, is no, you can do that, but excessive users may be shaped. And I find that fascinating because as soon as you throw unlimited out there, the ACMA has some pretty strict ideas that unlimited usually means with no limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is an excessive user of an unlimited plan? How do you go beyond multiple unlimiteds?
It's mathematically a tricky one. I think, realistically speaking, you would presumably be using more than 100 to 150 gig a month, because there are existing plans which service that kind of level. And certainly, if they started shaping you there, I think you'd have a really fine case to go to them and say, hey, this is garbage because I could do this well on this kind of money previously from you anyway, without, any speed limits. Regardless, I guess somebody is going to be the test case for this, because there's somebody out there with enough money to afford this plan, and who's going to sit there and just go, right, time to download the entire internet.
All the distros.
I am not in the price bracket where this plan, which is $5,000 roughly over 2 years, is actually logical for me. But as a reviewer, I really want it, if only so I can test every aspect of the Telstra network on its 1.2 gigabit speed and see how much we can push out of that bloody network.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is the thing. The key to the value on those plans is actually knowing usage. If you know how much you use, because even for their cheapest plan is $69, and you get 30 gig of data. And the point is, if you're using more than 30 gig, and for about that price, you can probably get about 60 to 80 on other networks, it should be said. But if you're using more than that, then there might be some value in going to these kinds of plans, as long as you're going to be comfortable in that 1.5 meg ghetto for however long in the month that might be. But you've got to have a really good solid case for continual use of data that isn't covered by some of the other plans on other networks. Telstra being Telstra, the premium data cost for their network. The flip side of this, Vodafone's answer to this, was yet another kind of modular bolt-on. They're calling them Vodafone passes, running from $5 per month to $15 per month for unlimited usage in certain circumstances. Basically, social, chat, music, or video. Video is the most expensive at $15. Social and music are $10, and chat is $5. Lee, do you think these are reasonable deals, given they're that much cheaper?
The first time I saw them, there are aspects I liked because I can see the logic there, but there were two problems. One, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably reached the same conclusion. How much data do you really consume on Facebook Messenger? I mean, even Instagram, which is probably one of the larger uploads, maybe. I mean, they're 1 megapixel images that you're uploading. You're not consuming a ton of data.
It sounds like a sneaky way to get people to pay extra for using those services because they think they need it. It's like that old net neutrality argument of your ISP will charge you extra if you want full speed Facebook or extra if you want full speed Netflix. They're kind of doing something like that, but they're not saying that. They're just saying, well, if you want unlimited, give us a bit more. It does sound a bit shifty to me.
See, spoken just like one of just like not being one of those Instagram influencers who clearly has millions of posts to put up each day and gets away with doing evil things on Facebook.
I like the idea of trying to chew through that much data, though. It's like the Brewster's Millions of data to see how much data you can use in a month.
But there's the other side of this, and I'm not sure how many people read it. Those passes all max out again at 1.5 megabits.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. They're not full high speed. And that's the one pass that you'd think might sort of make sense is the video one. $15 a month, and sure, it's only standard def Netflix, but it means you could sit on the train or the bus or whatever and watch your series without having to think about downloading them first, which would be the smart thing to do, by the way, people. But you could watch that stuff. But there's even a problem there, because I was looking at the plans that these apply to, and they have a $45 a month 12-month SIM-only plan and a $35 a month SIM-only plan. And the problem with the 45 plan is you add $15 to that, you're at $60. At $60, they'll give you an unlimited plan, which has all of this stuff at 1.5 meg once you've exhausted your quota. There is no point in buying the video pass if you're on the 45 plan. That leaves the 35 plan, but even there, you add $15 to that, you're pushing towards 50, $10 extra a month and not having to worry about any of it. Sounds a lot smarter to me, because there's also weird little exclusions in what isn't covered by each level of these passes as well.
Ooh, the fine print.
There's no Apple Music, and there's no Google Play, and there's no YouTube. They were the first things I confirmed with Optus when I asked them about it, which I found crazy. And Optus's PR told me, Vodafone's PR rather. Head crazy there. Vodafone's PR rather then told me that it was something they might expand later on. This had to do with their partners. But I was like, Apple Music and maybe YouTube would probably be some of the big ones I'd be thinking of right then.
Apple Music might be tied in with Telstra. There could be an exclusive there we don't know about. But even I agree, those are significant omissions. But there's also weird stuff like if you get Giphy images loading in your Facebook feed, that's actually not covered by your unlimited data pass. So if your friends are all animated GIF crazy, they're going to start chewing your data all the time. You're sitting there thinking, well, I've got unlimited Facebook, I'm covered. You're actually not. Some kinds of ads aren't covered. Fairly obviously, and not surprisingly, tethering isn't covered, and you are limited to things like single video streams. It all kind of chips away at the value and makes it kind of hard, while still being that classic Vodafone thing of saying, oh, we're offering you all these individual choices, but actually some of the choices don't make any sense at all.
Man, I'm having flashbacks to shopping for private health insurance here. That's how bad these plans sound in their little catchy things.
It's kind of like that. You can't share the passes amongst members of your family. That was one of the first things I asked, because it's like, if you have several kids, Adam, you've got a couple of kids, so do you, Alex. I mean, if you've got kids that you want to share this, if you maybe have a family account, each one of those has to have an individual pass. There's no way of managing this from a family point of view. It starts to get mind-numbing.
Well, that just about wraps up another episode of Vertical Hold. Thanks to Lee for joining us for the show.
Thanks, guys.
And as always, we love to get your feedback on the show. So feel free to comment via Twitter, or, presuming it's still there, the Vertical Hold Facebook page.
Thanks everyone for listening, and remember, if you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button. And if you've already subscribed, thanks. Leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you grab your great podcasts. Vertical Hold, Behind the Tech News, is proudly brought to you by Belkin.
Lee says something witty about his hat.